Hey, I'm Connor Nielsen of CS Reviews. You know what I really love? A good movie.
And I am Spencer Nielsen of CS Reviews, and today's review is Rise of the Planet of the Apes, starring James Franco and Andy Serkis, prequel to the 1968 sci-fi classic, Planet of the Apes.
Okay, so the very bare minimum premise of this, I'm pretty sure they're going to go into more detail in the teaser trailer, is James Franco plays a scientist trying to cure Alzheimer's disease, which his dad, played by John Lithgow, has, and after a series of freak accidents happen, his research is discontinued. But he stows away an ape named Caesar, baby ape named chimp named Caesar, to keep the research going. And that's really just the basic premise of the movie.
So, I had some pros and some cons about this movie, mainly pros. I actually was pleasantly surprised by this movie. It was very fun, which I liked, but a big pro for me was the performances. I thought James Franco did a great job. It's, you know, a huge step ahead of Spider-Man. But the real show stealers were, one, John Lithgow, who plays his dad. Fantastic job. He did such a good job, and you sympathized for him, and he did a great, strong performance. And then Caesar the chimp, played by Andy Serkis, motion capture portrayal by Andy Serkis, was phenomenal. Really, really good. I thought, yeah, the performances were outstanding. I really liked how I just really liked how they all interacted off of each other, and then you bought their relationship as a family, and that, yeah, it was a believable relationship, like with the father-son, chimp too.
Father.
Yeah, father. Yeah, it was a good. I like the chemistry. That was good. Some cons, however, were I didn't like how the villains were very cliched and underdeveloped, especially like the people inside the ape shelter were just kind of made to go. Because there was Draco Malfoy plays this bully. He was like, "Yeah, I'll show you something that's real funny." And this, you know, starts squirting, which was a little sad. But he's like, it's a little. This is like cliched.
They're like cartoons.
Yeah, cartoon and cardboard cutout bully, animal bullies. But there was a scene that made me laugh, and that kind of was how cheesy it was, but also how kind of funny it was, where he goes, "Get your hands off me, you darn dirty ape!" Connor and I just kind of looked at each other and started laughing, because it was just kind of. Then right after that, yeah. Something very satisfying.
Yeah, something very satisfying happens right after he says that, and the last half of this movie is just very satisfying. Caesar's leading this big revolt, and it's, I mean, you should just see the movie just for the second half, because it's just so satisfying, but you have to watch the first half to get satisfaction out of the second half. The first half is, it's interesting. That's kind of the best way to put it. It's in very interesting, but not necessarily spectacular.
Yeah.
And the second half is just so fun and satisfying because of, you know, how much development has happened to the first one. I think that they could have shortened the first half, you know, a little bit. They didn't need to put all that in there. And I did find the human characters not nearly as interesting as the ape characters. And the CGI for those apes, especially the orangutan, is very, very good. That orangutan looked real, and I am not one for CGI, but that is an accomplishment, especially with the orangutan, because Maurice the orangutan, he's just so laid back and cool. But you know, the CGI is not going to add or take away. I mean, that's just my one rule. CGI is just. I don't know why. I'm not. But this movie is very CGI heavy for my taste. But you know what? I went along with it and had a great time, especially the second half. I did think that John Lithgow was great, Andy Serkis really does deserve recognition. I mean, actual recognition from the Oscars. It's of course not going to get any recognition, but it really does deserve the recognition, especially Andy Serkis. I think that it's very fun, very entertaining. I'm not going to be, rushing out to go see it, but it's just a good time. And I do think this movie does lack the substance that made the original a sci-fi classic. Because even if you haven't seen it, everyone knows these three things about Planet of the Apes. 1, everybody knows the ending. 2, everybody knows about it. It's a sci-fi classic. And 3, everybody knows it has one of the most famous lines ever. So everyone knows about the original sci-fi classic Planet of the Apes, and this one is a very, it respects the original one a lot, and you can definitely tell that everybody associated with this had respect for it, and you can just tell that they had a blast making this, and so you have a blast watching it, and if you don't have a blast in the first half, you definitely will have a blast in the second half, and the action is really, really, really good. I mean, especially, the apes on humans action is really good. I just wish there was more of it. I don't want to sound like an action junkie, but I wanted more action, man. Because the action was so good, you just wanted more of it. I mean, it's not over the top, exhausting Transformers junk. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
I give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was very entertaining. It's not a sci-fi classic, but it's very entertaining summer blockbuster. I liked it.
Yeah. Something I liked was Charleston Heston. How he's the first one. They're going to Mars. That was their plan, but then they get lost. So one morning, James Franco, he's sitting there eating breakfast or something like that, and then on the news it says first shuttle to being launched to Mars, and you're like, and then it shows on the inside, and there's like people floating around, like, oh hey, that's probably Charleston Heston and
his crew.
And then later it shows somebody throwing out newspapers, and then they look down at the paper and it says "Lost in Space," mission to Mars, space lost, communications with it and stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's the original Planet of the Apes. It's a good parallel, and I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, and Andy Serkis, once again, great job. He's like the king of mocap. I almost said Motown. Yeah, he's the king of mocap. Really deserves recognition. Very entertaining. You should see it. It's not, one of my favorite movies ever made. Entertaining time.
Yeah.
8, what do you give it?
I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, so 8 out of 10. Really, really entertaining movie. So I'm Connor Nielsen, and I'm out.
And I'm Spencer Nielsen of CS Reviews, and comment, rate, subscribe, and see you next review.